All right, welcome back to the lab.
Hey,
Got back my boy CJ, and
I'm a lab native.
lab native, bro. Bro, my co-host, bro. My co-host. You know, it's fun. I love having CJ in the lab just because, you know, from a standpoint of a builder, of a guy who's on the street, of a guy who's keeping his head in the trenches of what's happening with changes and regulations and all that kind of good stuff. I work, and we've had this conversation before, and you know, I've irritated some contractors in my time because they're not all the same. You know, and it's not to knock contractors because they do a good job, you know, hammering a nail, but not all of them are the greatest in the admin start of things. So admin's a complete other aspect in terms of like sticking with the budget and that part. But I think one of the critical pieces that I think a lot of people are not attuned to is the bylaws and and regulations and the different nuances, especially with your connections within the city. Coming to you as a resource where they're asking your feedback, different,
Very
right?
different.
Because most of the contractors and people I work with, or I've worked with in the past, are not getting asked the feedback of what works good in the field and what's not working, and then your input being able to change the course that the city is looking for, and they're using your guidance.
Yeah, man. It's honest. Thank you for saying that. Honestly, it's been amazing. It's been the resources that I've been connected to, like the San Diego Black Chamber of Commerce. They're the ones that introduced me to the mayor's office. And going back and forth with the mayor's office, we figured out that, hey, SB 10 is just not a good look for San Diego right now. However, let's figure something else out. Like, let's just not stop, because the key there is that we need housing. Like, we need more housing, right? And then we have you and I both know a ton of investors that want to develop in San Diego because they see the return on investment. And the majority of them, you know, just like the contractor thing, a lot of investors get a bad rep, like, oh, they're just greedy investors. They just want to buy up everything. These guys, the majority of the guys that I work with, I had one guy that I'm working with right now, we're building in Bay Park, 6 ADUs in the backyard. He's like, so what's the difference between very low income and mid income? Because some of those bonus ADUs or those deed restricted ADUs have to be low income or very low income. And I said it's either you do very low 10 years or you do mid or low income for 15 years. And he's like, let's just do the very low income. You know what I mean? In Bay Park. So he's going to be renting out a 1-bedroom, 1-bath in Bay Park for like $1,200 a month. So somebody's going to get a luxury ADU in a beautiful area overlooking the bay for $1,200 a month because he's like, let's just, you know, I'm getting mine. Let's help the community too, you know? I
think a lot of people, as an investor standpoint, they're looking at things short-sighted. I think it's a blessing of what the city is allowing us to do.
Right.
Because there's not a lot of proactive cities like San Diego and the county that we have as in other areas in Northern California. You know?
Right.
Santa Clara, I think I sent you a guy from Santa Clara that does ADU developments as well, right? Yeah. And it sounds like, for me, the way that they're operating right now is us, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago. So very apprehensive to take on the idea or concept of density housing, because when I had an event, this is about 5 years ago, and about 300 realtors at the hotel, you know, all the typical swag you see a lot of the guys doing nowadays, right?
Right.
Back then I had Fannie Mae, Radian, and I also had one of the head of BNI. I forget the guy's name, and the conversation we were having was about density housing. How do we fix housing affordability, right? And it was about a week or two before they were going to announce for California the new rollout for ADUs. I had it was with Senator Joel Anderson. He was a senator at the time.
Damn,
it was awesome.
That's old school.
That's old school, bro. That's old school. You know, people don't know. I don't like to talk about these things, but you know, when we had David Alvarez was there. He was on city council. We had who else was in there? Scott Sherman. He's on city council. And it was really just addressing the harsh reality of housing affordability. And that's in 2017, 2018, right? And before it got as bad as it did.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we were talking about some of those things, for me personally, and when I was on the board for the county, it was really important for us to recognize what was the premise behind building ADUs.
Right.
And it was really for generational housing. So it's expensive. You can now have a place where your kids are early newlyweds or possibly having a new baby on the way, and that they can live close enough proximity with their parents. And this is a very old school way of thinking of the nuclear family.
Right.
I mean, back in the 1800s, you had families that were that 5 houses on one lot, and they all lived.
My lot right now, no joke. Me, my wife, and my 2 daughters live in the main house. It's a 2-bedroom, 1 bath, and then we cut off the area behind the kitchen and left that for my daughter that's in school. So technically, that's just a room addition with a bathroom. Could easily be converted to a JADU, put a kitchen in there. There's a garage conversion on my lot where my mother-in-law lives, and a attached studio where my father-in-law lives. And people like, dang, you guys bump each other. No, we have one laundry unit that everybody uses, and
it
everybody
allows
leaves
for
everybody
privacy.
alone.
It's enough to be close enough, but it also allows enough for privacy.
Yep.
So when we were looking at some of the concepts of these things, and this is something that was done back in the early 80s. So when interest rates were going up, one of the solutions for housing was creating this affordable housing and converting the garage.
Right.
And it's funny, coming from the Bay Area, my grandparents had one, my parents had one, my aunt and uncles all still have one.
Common there.
My in-laws have one.
Yeah.
Like, dude, everybody, no joke, has an ADU. So coming to San Diego, and it was like, how many permits have we ever issued for ADUs? And it was 18 for the year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because my friends that were doing, 20, 30 flips in a month, I would tell my buddy John, he runs Sequoia Investments. Hey, bro, I really want to add some of these extra doors on the property because I'm thinking about holding them longer term. And because they're in and out of inventory, dude, that's not our model. It doesn't make sense.
Right.
And so we sat down and talked a little bit more about it. I'm like, dude, I'm seeing something here personally that I'd rather sit on this property long term, because if we're going to start doing what the Bay Area did in the 80s, San Diego is really going to push for a lot of density housing.
Yeah.
And I'm not like a conspiracy theorist, but I am a little. Sure enough, boom, remapped. Yep, that's what we're going to do.
Yep.
That's our plan. Awesome. How about we get this in front of our realtors? Love for them to know. 2 weeks before they even announced it, they're telling all the realtors. We're having Fannie Mae's input, Radian's input, because they have to provide mortgage insurance and whatnot and kind of work the guidelines. Who cancels on the last minute, bro? BNI.
Oh, man.
The builders. Because the builders did not have an incentive from their standpoint, because we're taking away from their future clientele.
I see.
I didn't really think about that.
Yeah.
And then we were talking about density housing. The problem with density housing is there wasn't enough meat in the margin for them to do a 30, 40 unit building on 3rd and Chula.
Right.
And they'd rather just go out and build these houses. And then what made it even worse, every quarter we used to go, I haven't gone in a while, but every quarter we would sit down with all the big builders, McMillan, all of them, they would come, we have breakfast. And I remember we were talking about some of these things. And one of the questions I asked was, hey, when you guys are going to build in the master plan community, how do you pick who's going to do one project? Like, you guys are outbidding each other. And he's like, exactly. We put all the projects in a hat. We literally play poker, and we pass around the hat. We pull it out, and we know our margin. We're going to make, his was like 12 or 15%, whether you're building a strip mall, or you're going to build the condos, or you're going to build a house. So rather than competing with each other and driving up the price, we just said, screw it. We're builders. We'll build whatever we need. And that's what we do.
Nice.
Like, oh, okay. That's the old boys club right there, straight up.
Right.
Like, okay, cool.
Now we got so many other players that are involved because of the whole ADU plays. Like, you know, you are part of you're a founder of ADU Geeks,
Oh, no.
right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
like
yeah.
that company was at the forefront of the biggest movement. Now we see all these players like
Oh, yeah, yeah.
following, you know, right behind, like, oh, we can do this too. We can do this
Yeah,
too,
yeah,
you know. But you
Except for
were
the liability.
yeah, for they don't want
Except
the
for the liability. I was
liability.
like, bro, you guys, there's something that I learned back in the last downturn that when things turn down, there's liability opens up.
Right.
And the episode hasn't come out yet, but it's with me and Sid.
Oh, nice.
Because, you know, he's master appraiser, and
Yeah.
he was also on the forefront of valuations with
Shout out to Sydney.
Shout out to Sid. So Sid was, you know, did the whole thing with Sacramento and
Yeah.
talked about his input on the valuations of ADUs and
Yeah.
all that kind of cool stuff, right? And so the last episode that we sat down with, and I said, bro, but you know, when you have a single family and you add a junior onto it, you have now 2 ADUs and you can't get traditional financing.
Yeah.
So now if you're getting into this at 7.5 interest rate and you're assuming that you're going to refinance down the road, right?
Yeah.
Appraiser goes out there, sees you have 2 ADUs. Fannie Mae currently doesn't allow that. Now you're stuck with that 7.5. So there's all these little nuances, bro. And I would be kind of pissed.
Speaking of that, let's
Yeah.
speak. I mean, I'm not an appraiser. You got that episode coming out soon, so
Yeah.
I'm definitely gonna be watching that. It's very interesting to me. So, like, if I buy a single family home, I put 2 ADUs on it. How does that affect my appraising rate, and how does that affect like when I want to refi?
That's a great question. So there's 2 halves to this coin. So one half is the way that the valuation of the market's going to support the value. So as an example, if you do a single family house with an ADU in an area like Rancho Bernardo, where it's not dominant in the area, you may see little value in return because there's not enough sufficient comps to justify why you did this.
Yeah.
Okay. Logan Heights is another area, opposite end of the spectrum. There's a lot of bootleg, these little tiny 1-car garages.
Right.
You can spend $100,000 doing a build,
Yeah.
and you may only get 50,000 in value because the market comparables that are currently existing are not the greatest, and it's
Gotcha.
just the market area. So there's areas where you can actually lose money based on the way you're doing your project. But the most difficult part is really the comparables. So a lot of people will look at like a duplex with an ADU. Oh yeah, look at my triplex. It's not a triplex. It's a duplex with an ADU. Like, okay, you know what a trike is, right? Those bikes that have the Can-Ams, 3 wheels, that's a trike. If I have a motorcycle and I put a sidecar,
It's not a.
it's not a trike.
No.
It's a motorcycle with a sidecar.
Yep.
Okay. Your motorcycle with a sidecar is your duplex with an ADU.
Gotcha.
It is what
not
it
the
is.
same.
It's not the same. It has 3 wheels. I see what you're saying, but it's not the same.
Right.
Now, from the lending standpoint, which is the other side of the coin,
Yeah.
Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, FHA, VA, they recognize that this property now became a unique property type. How many duplexes do you have with ADUs? How many fourplexes do you have with 2 ADUs? So in their scope, they're looking at it as if like 20 years ago when we first got solar, people would pay $30,000 for solar, but if you're the only dude in the neighborhood with solar, how do they justify the market value on that?
Right.
You just created a unique property type. Now they'll let you still do a loan on the solar thing, but how do you genuinely value it? Now, if you're doing non-traditional financing, the non-QM stuff,
Yeah.
they're starting to look at that very similar to like a commercial loan. They'll look at the
Gotcha.
debt servicing on that property,
Got
and
it.
they'll treat it as if it's a fourplex because of the cash flow it generates.
Yeah.
From the appraiser standpoint, that's one of the forms of valuation is the cash flow,
Got it.
right? So this property generates X amount of cash flow. Based on the cash flow analysis, I'm giving it this valuation. Based on its replacement cost, so you still got to replace it. Based on its replacement cost, we're giving it this valuation. Based on market data analysis, we're giving it this valuation.
If I am, thank you for that. If I am a brand new investor, I just sent you a client, brand new investor, a veteran, right? He has, some cash on him, cash on hand. Let's say, I don't know this is true. Let's say hypothetically his credit score is like 680.
So good enough.
Yeah, good enough.
Good enough,
right? Good enough to invest. He says, you know what, Anthony, I want to get started on this. what's the best route? Do I use my VA loan? Do I use my
That's
cash
a good
on
question.
hand?
So what I love to do is I want to work with the end result in mind.
Okay.
Okay. So there's going to be two restrictive pieces. One is going to be the borrower's individual qualifications. So based on your income, and let's say we're not doing ADUs, let's say we're converting a single family into a fourplex.
Okay.
In that scenario, on a specific loan type, I can use the projected rents to help qualify and justify a larger loan amount for the build. Okay. So let's say qualifies on his own 600,000, but based on the cash flow of the 3 additional units, man, you can borrow 1.1 million. Now I got 500,000 to spend. In that 500,000 to spend, trying to do a fourplex as an example.
So that 500,000 is not including the existing single family there.
Correct.
It's like
the above and beyond.
We're gonna build on this
Yeah.
to convert it. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, and I got to start factoring other little things. So out of the 500,000, I'm going to have to chop off 10% because I got to set aside money for cost overrun.
Gotcha.
Now I got 450 to play with.
Got it.
Then we'll say, okay, CJ, for 450, what can I build?
This is all VA loan from what I'm hearing.
This would probably be like a 203K or a Fannie Mae.
And he's not using other investors. He's just doing this by himself.
This is just him by himself in that situation.
Gotcha.
Right? And the reason we reverse engineer it is because we know this is how much money we're going to play with. So as an example, let's say you do have 450,000 now to spend on a build. Okay, well, maybe they're going to be, I don't know, 400 square feet per door. Just random. 1 bedroom, 1 bath, 1,400 square feet per door, or 400 square feet per door. That's about what, from based on what you have, what you're going to be able to roughly build, right? Then we're going to double check it. Okay, so now that we know that's $400 or 400 square feet a door, what's the rent going to be? Because we started off with a projection in the beginning. Let's say I'm using 2,200.
Yeah.
But now that it's 400, well, you're not going to get 22. Maybe it's 18. So now we got to try and figure out, okay, what's a good balance that'll make sense in that market?
Right.
Right. And from there, if it does fall short, then we start playing with other numbers. You know, maybe the quality of construction or the design layout. You know, maybe we stack it.
So it sounds to me that even though you're a loan officer, you have the resources to basically take a project from start to finish. You know the people that you need to connect with the client. So, and honestly, for my clients, what I do is if they're saying, you know what, CJ, I'm ready to invest. The first thing I did with that last client that came to me and was like, I just want to invest. How do I start? I sent them to you. I didn't send them a real estate agent. I didn't. And it's nothing against real estate agents.
No, nothing against real estate agents.
The money is the biggest factor.
The budget is the biggest factor.
Budget, exactly.
The budget is the biggest factor.
Yeah.
Because in that kind of situation, if I run numbers and based on what they want to do at the end result, let's say there's a gap.
Yeah.
Now we got to solve the gap. Okay, bro. Now I know you want to do this, but you're only going to get 900, let's say, and you need 1.2. What can we fill in the gap? Get a cosigner.
Yeah. I see.
I have another set of clients that they talked to their dad.
Yeah.
Gave him the business plan. The dad's like, I'll give you 200,000.
Right.
Shoot, you know?
Yeah. He saw the vision.
He saw the vision.
Yeah.
He's like, I'll buy in this for you. Hell yeah. He's like, when I die, you're going to get my money anyways. Like, literally, it's, you know, that's what their scenario is.
Yeah.
Perfect. Cool. But at least what we're doing is we're just laying it out and we're just solving for the gap.
Right.
And again, we're starting with the end result in mind and reverse engineering it.
Gotcha.
Now, even though we have a business plan kind of laid out rough, you still got to identify the property.
Right.
That's where your feasibility study comes in.
Yeah.
Go out. Hey, CJ, what neighborhood should I be looking in? What should I be looking for? What can I do? Cool. Okay, based on this property, now these are the regulations. So you have the lending side, which is one aspect. Then you have the local ordinances, which is another side.
Right.
And those two things are not intertwined. The city will allow you to do 2, 3, 4 ADUs. Your type of financing you're going to get will limit you to 1 ADU currently.
Right.
Right. But let's just say, for sake of argument, you can do a triplex or a fourplex.
Can someone invest in properties with zero money? They have a pretty good credit score and a VA loan.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. That's we do that all the time.
That's crazy.
It's super crazy.
I mean, a lot of people don't talk about that, and I talk to veterans all the time. Like, hey, you need to leverage this VA loan. You have to leverage this VA loan. CJ, my credit score. I got a credit score guy. I don't know how the money works. I got a loan officer.
Yeah.
You know,
with the VA, see the VA, it's tricky.
Yeah.
Because again, now what we're doing is we're basically breaking down two different problems. So the VA loan would be used for terms of acquisition of the property.
Right.
So, okay, cool. We qualify you for acquisition of the property, and you're going to be an owner builder, right? And then the other one is going to be for the construction loan. So it's two different transactions, right? And then we'll say leg number 3 is once you're done, we'll refinance you back into the VA loan.
Gotcha.
Okay, because the construction, when you're doing the renovation loans, they carry typically a higher interest rate. They're going to probably have mortgage insurance depending on what you're going to want to do, how high your loan to value is going to be.
So I did not know that you can leverage the VA loan and a construction loan at the same time.
Well, what you do, there's a couple of different ways, because there is second money trustees where you can get to do some of the builds, but typically they're going to want to have somebody who has previous experience.
Oh, I see.
Right? It's just like a private hard money second, something like that.
Gotcha.
Sometimes they'll do an equity split. Sometimes they'll charge you 12-13% interest rates. But based on what your end result's going to be.
Starting.
Yeah, like I had one of my buddies brought me a property one time. It was in Poway. This was maybe like 3 months ago. And Warren, you met Warren.
Yeah, I met Warren.
So he had one.
Shout out to Warren.
Shout out to Warren. So he had a property that was 650s, 650, I think it was. I looked at the value. It was like 900 all day, bro. I'll take that.
Nice.
And he's like, dude, you should have called me like an hour ago. I'm still pissed, Warren. Anyhow, I looked at that and I was like, dude, this is Poway. It's a fixer. It's dated. Yeah. Needed about 150 grand worth of work. But I'm like, dude, in that neighborhood, and I drop an ADU? Yeah. Hell yeah.
Right.
So numbers like that, a little bit different, because now I'm going in acquisition at 650. I have plenty enough margin in future value to be able to borrow against it. And as long as I can credit qualify with the type of income and the type of loan, the type of units I'm going to build, can I use that to help me qualify, right? So there's some moving parts in there, but before you even break ground, and this is something really important, now that we have the scope of work and we have your cost of material and your cost of labor, we know exactly what everything's going to run you. We take that whole package and I send it to the appraiser in advance. He's going to give us a valuation based on completion on future value. Gotcha. So damn, CJ, based on what you're looking at, it looks like comps in here are like 1.5 million. Cool. You're into it for 1.1. It's comping for 1.5. Depending on the program type, sometimes we have to have that 25% equity at completion. So as long as it falls in with those parameters, even before you break ground, you're going to know whether or not it's a viable investment or not.
Gotcha.
Right?
And that's why we're working backwards.
That's why we work with the end result in mind. So I'll look at comps. We'll say, okay, neighborhood supporting 1.5, 1.6 million. You got it for 5. You need 500,000 or 600. Now you're in 1.1. Cool. As long as we fit that parameter.
Gotcha.
Right,
so if anybody's out there and wants to invest in properties, wants to be an investor, wants to start, doesn't know where to start, you need to hit my man up. Yeah. And Anthony Ramirez. That's the first
Thanks
step.
For the plug, homie. Thanks for the plug.
Step that you do.
The first step is the business planning.
Yeah.
Take notes. I don't mind sharing this information. Take notes. It's very simple arithmetic. You just need to know the rules. You need to know the answers to the test.
Got it. So three quick rapid fire questions. This is like rapid fire because we got like probably 10 more minutes here.
Go for it.
So rapid fire question. Name 3 hot spots in San Diego to invest in.
Ooh, damn you, bro. That's tough. Hot spot.
Hot spots.
Okay. Complete community zones.
Okay.
That's
And if you don't know
I
what
was
that
hesitant on giving that one out,
No,
bro,
if
because that's
you
my
don't-
target.
Right.
Okay.
That's fine. If you don't know what that is,
Okay.
if you think about it, City of San Diego is unlimited FAR. Downtown San Diego is unlimited FAR.
FAR
Then
stands for
floor area ratio, meaning you can
how
build
big, how
as
many
much as you can.
residential square feet you can have on a given lot.
Exactly.
Okay,
So you
that's
can
number
build
one.
as much as you can vertically.
Maximize the lot.
Maximize the lot.
Okay.
Boom. You move outward from there, then it digresses slowly. So
Yeah.
like it'll be like, okay, 7.0%.
You got me sweating on that one, bro.
FAR.
So, okay.
Yeah, it's a good question.
Share my
It's a
trade
good-
secret then. That
Oh,
one.
it's a good
That's
question
great one.
because guess what? There's people out there that are like, you know what, CJ? I'd rather
There's
partner
enough
with
property
you
to go
guys
around. Yeah.
to do this, complete community. In fact, when complete communities are 20 units and up.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like you can't just like, okay, I'll put 6 ADUs on a lot because it's a complete community. You have to break past the
Maximize the lot.
maximize the lot first,
Yeah.
and then break into that 20 units.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was
You
a
would
good
do
one.
it in a phase fashion. You'd probably go like 3 phases. Phase 1, I would probably right size the pre-existing house if I could,
Yeah.
so that way it floats my project. So then in 12 months, once I have permits and everything in place,
Yep.
phase 2, build a certain number of units, complete it. Once I'm done, then I'll submit for phase 3, add more units onto it, and then go from there.
Yep. A lot of people are catching on to digging more footings in the foundation
Yeah.
to build on it later.
Yeah,
in
exactly.
stages.
Exactly.
Catch
Exactly.
up.
Because you have to be able to have enough strength to carry the load. Yeah.
Next question.
Yeah.
There's a new Fannie Mae. I think it's 5% for multifamily.
Yeah.
Give
That's
us some
acquisition.
Give us
So,
some information.
a couple different things on that. So, Fannie Mae's changing guidelines on November 18th, and they're going to make it easier for owner-occupied buyers to buy units. So, you can get by with as little as 5% down on a fourplex. So, it used to be 25%. Now it's going to 5%. However, we don't know yet what's called loan level price adjusters. Okay. So loan level price adjusters are pricing that gets added into your cost of your loan. Think of them as points based on the level of risk. Okay. So we don't know yet how much that's going to cost. Fannie Mae has their pricing hit. But because you're putting less than 20% down, now you're also going to have mortgage insurance. We don't know how much the mortgage insurance hit's going to be. You got great credit, 740 FICO, 10% down, 5% down.
Right.
Maybe you get a 0.65 annual mortgage insurance premium added to it, 0.65 on a single family. On a fourplex, shit, it could be 2. So 2 points above, you get an interest rate of 8 plus 2, now you're talking 10. That's not even the points. That's just your rate. That's your blended rate, we call it. The rate plus the mortgage insurance premium is going to be your blended. Right now, as an investor, I see programs sometimes where people get paid, they get charged 3.5 points because they're only putting 20% down. There's an automatic 3-point hit as an investor. So now you're getting your 7.5 or 8% rate right now, plus 3 points. So if you're borrowing $800,000, you got a $24,000 fee on top of the rest of your closing costs.
Oh my goodness.
Right?
So it sounds to me like the initial, hey, this is what we're doing, sounds very good, but then the details of it could be a
Depending
little,
on your situation,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You might it can work in like Norma, Oklahoma, maybe Texas,
Gotcha.
maybe some places where you can buy a fourplex for sub 600,000, maybe.
Gotcha.
It might work, but when you're buying in California and your fourplex is running you 1.5 mil, and you got a 3-4 point hit, do the math on that.
Yeah.
4 times 15, you're talking $60,000 in just points.
Yeah.
Now, the reason I bring that up is California has what's called Section 32. So Section 32 are high cost loans. So in California, we can, as a lender, we can only charge you a specific amount. There's a limit.
Yeah.
Even if you wanted to pay 6 points to buy the rate down, with our regulations, there's only so much we can charge you without hitting the HOPA violation, the high cost loan limit.
Yeah.
So just because they say they can do it, mathematically, based on the cost associated to that loan, it may not be feasible.
Right.
So it's very area specific. Like I
Gotcha.
said, it might work in like El Centro. It may work in Bakersfield. It may work in, I don't know, Arizona, Nevada,
Gotcha.
maybe. But
I mean, dude, I've heard about this 5% thing online. I've seen it on social media, but I haven't heard anybody explain the details or the pros and cons in that way. So thanks for explaining that.
I mean, honestly, and I love that you even brought that up. That's one of the things I think with the lab that I really wanted to get people on to promote.
Yeah.
It's not about us always talking about the rah-rah
Right.
and, all the shiny stuff.
Right.
This is really, for me, it's opening up Pandora's box.
Right.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
So as an investor, we have to be agnostic.
Right.
Right. So when I've made mistakes is because I'm overly excited on a project and my emotion is driving the project.
Right. Right.
But when I take a step back and I just need the numbers and I just need the facts
Give me
and
the
math,
raw information.
give me the good, bad, the ugly. This is what we need to do. Now I can address the gap.
Right.
What are we shortfall? How do I fill the gap? How do we overcome that?
Yeah.
And it makes it easier. That's one of the things I learned from Thatch was really taking the emotion out of it and sticking to a standard.
Right.
And then you'll be okay.
Awesome. Last question.
Yeah.
Favorite, either I would say favorite thing to eat or favorite spot to eat in San Diego?
Man, bro, that is a tough one. Number one, it's going to depend on the mood I'm in because I'm a foodie.
Yeah.
You can't tell. Okay.
I am too. Shoot.
I'm a foodie.
That's
I'm
why
a
I work
foodie.
out, because I'd be like,
I
dang.
can't work out. My back still hurts, bro. I'm still waiting for this thing to finish
Because
out.
I like to eat.
Yeah, dude.
Like, oh, you work out to look good? No, I like to eat.
No. So, I think we're really blessed in San Diego.
Yeah.
There's so many great places to eat. And I like to think of myself as like a burrito connoisseur.
Okay.
Right. So
I like that.
it depends. When I have friends when I have friends visiting San Diego,
Yeah.
I'll ask them, what do you feel like having?
Yeah.
And if they say, man, you know what? I really want to have some fish tacos. Bro, I'm going to take you to Oscars.
Okay.
The stuff's they catch that this morning.
Nice. Where's this at?
You never been to Oscars?
No, bro. How you gonna take me?
So
take me to Oscars, bro.
Go to Pacific Beach.
Yeah.
Okay. Go to Pacific Beach on Mission Mission Boulevard,
Yeah.
North PB.
Okay.
Okay. A place called Oscars.
Gotcha.
Okay. They got different types of fish and
Caught that day.
yeah, I usually cut that morning. Yeah, basically. But they'll make like ceviche and whatnots. They'll have octopus, and you tell them how you want it prepared.
Gotcha.
So you can have your fish beer battered, or you can have it grilled and whatnot, and they make it in like TJ street taco style.
Nice.
So yeah, you just go up in there and you just kind of like a la carte pick it.
Yeah.
One of my favorite spots, and I have my friends that come back and they specifically go back there.
Yeah.
Now there's other pretty good taco spots.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna bash on them because like we're here down the street. I got City Tacos.
Oh yeah,
They
pretty good.
got pretty good too.
Yeah.
But yeah, in PB specifically, my kids, like everybody,
Yeah.
it's a hole in the wall spot, but the quality's off the chart.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah. Now, what else? Steak wise?
Yeah.
Oh, dude, born and raised.
Ooh, I love Born and Raised.
I
love Born
think,
and
I
Raised.
think they give the steak just love, bro.
You know the spot I just took Laura for? I think it was, what was that? Our anniversary. We went to Cowboy Star.
Cowboy Star? It's all right.
I
I mean,
I liked
it's good.
Yeah.
I give it a 1 out of 10. I give it a solid 8.
Yeah.
Right? It ain't my 10 spot,
Yeah.
but I'll tell
Want to
you,
raise your 10 spot for steak?
oh, bro, because dude, they're gonna bring you out the full wagyu
Yeah, I
and,
love
and,
it.
the, and the salt from wherever the hell
Oh,
around
yeah.
the world. Like
I love it.
I even went out and bought myself like a, what's it called, black lava rock salt, because they
Really?
don't play, dude. This one's from Tahiti, and
Right.
I'm like,
Right.
son, and I don't drink anymore, but then dude, they're top.
got cool drinks,
Their
too.
drinks are just
Yeah.
it's sick, bro. Because I love that spot, and then for breakfast.
Yeah.
Bro, I mean, dude, it really depends on what you want to have. You can go to this hole in the wall spot in PB also, where they just give you these ginormous just platter of eggs and bacon and whatnot, and then walk out to the pier and you're just
chill.
chilling. But it's just mad. Or you can go to Morning Glory.
That's a long line though, man.
Yeah,
That's a
yeah,
long
yeah,
wait.
yeah.
It's tight. Like I like the environment in there, but I'm like, bro,
Yeah.
I'm waiting 3 hours to eat.
Yeah.
Come on.
Well, why you waiting 3 hours? Who else
Well,
is going to
'cause
make you fried
everybody-
rice in the morning with your breakfast?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So it just,
You got a point.
it just depends.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what though, two places that are dope. So for my anniversary for my wife, my favorite spot to go to, Mr. A's.
I take my wife there a couple times too.
Mr. A's.
Yeah, I like that
Because
spot.
ambience, bro.
It's the ambience plus the service is really good too.
The ambience, the view.
Yeah.
One of my good old friends is this guy Baron. He's part of the Alicio family because that's Mr. A's was the Alicios.
Oh, nice.
I just gave my daughter his book, so we were there before his grandfather passed away, and the family, their contribution to San Diego. They used to own half of Coronado Island, bro.
Dang.
Yeah. There's a picture of my boy at the bridge in Coronado as they're going to christen the bridge.
Wow.
Like they're going to build the bridge, right?
Yeah.
Because it was part of their land. They used to have goats and whatnot, and the ferries that used to go back and forth. So they're old school, like super old school San Diegans. They built Caliente. They built like 18 schools in TJ. Super dope. But we went there for dinner one time, and Bertram used to own Mr. A's. So he's one of the original OG guys.
Oh yeah.
And a year ago was the last time we ate, and Bertram was there, and just sold it to the new person. I don't know who bought it, but my buddy Baron, him and his relatives, they sold the building. They should have kept it. They sold it for like $18 million. Guy went in there, gutted it, refurbished it, put PERS in there as a rental, as tenants, and turned it over in 3 years for $60 million.
That's why everybody tells me don't sell in San Diego because it's like
But Mr. A's is one of the places that you get the best view of all San Diego for sure. I think, especially at night, the quality, the ambience, they've always been top tier. They always treat you like you're a rock star.
Right. I did feel that. I was like, I mean, Born and Raised was cool, but Mr. A's, I feel like I had
a different vibe,
better service. Like
you got to wear a suit.
Boom, boom. And yeah, I was wearing a suit. My wife was wearing a nice dress, and she was like,
"Yeah, it's classy,
nice."
Yeah, especially on a hot day, you sit in the patio, watch the planes fly in front of you as they land. They're like flying in front of you.
Yeah,
it's one of the highest buildings in San Diego. Yeah, it's not the tallest. It's just where it sits on the hill. It's the highest.
Right. It's got a nice views too.
Yeah,
I love it.
And then there's a place on Marina Boulevard, believe it or not. So I'm gonna take my daughter there. It's an old school Italian spot.
Okay.
So, God, I can't remember the name of the place it's next to. Anyhow, I'm gonna say it's Bocce's. That dude was the original head chef of Mr. A's, because Mr. A's was the Italian spot.
Right.
He went there 40 years ago, bro. Still owns it to this day. You walk into this spot. Outside, you can't tell. You walk in, OG.
Yeah.
I'm talking like Godfather OG. And
nice.
It's about the most authentic Italian food that I've had in San Diego.
Nice.
Like straight up.
I love Italian. My wife doesn't really care for it, but I love it. She's like steak, and I'm like, I like steak, but not as much as she's like steak potatoes.
Really?
Type of deal.
Dude, you know what the best? Okay, so I'll finish up with this one. The best value for food in San Diego, I think right now, is Rustic Root.
Oh, I like that spot.
Okay, Rustic Root, tomahawk steak. Have you had that?
I haven't had the steak.
Dog, let me tell you.
Good.
You get this fat 2-inch tomahawk steak. I know one of the managers over there. He works over here with me. But he has they have a 2-inch fat tomahawk steak, bro.
Yeah.
Best value. You want to split that with, I wouldn't even say with 2, maybe 3, 4 boys. Just chop it up. Boom.
Nice.
You're good. Solid.
Nice.
Great steak.
Yeah.
Solid. Yeah.
So you go down there. Do you go down there? I don't know. Like people that are our age don't hang out downtown as much.
Gaslamp?
Yeah. Not as much. But like you named 2 of your favorite spots are in downtown. So I was like, dang.
But you know what? I mean, it's hard to say.
Yeah.
You go to oh my God, what's the other one? Huntress.
I haven't been there, but I've heard good things about that.
Huntress.
Spot.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
What my favorite thing at Huntress is their
Don't say the dessert.
the dessert.
So I heard that like 3 or 4 times. It's like a
Magic
little mushroom
mushroom.
thing. Yeah.
Magic mushroom, bro. Dude, that thing is pulled out of a cartoon. That
Yeah,
thing is
yeah,
like,
I've seen it.
It's sick.
Yeah.
And plus, when they bring it out, like the whole stick, they put it in a glass.
Yeah.
So when you bring it out, they take the glass off, and it's all
Smoky,
smoke
yeah.
and it's all smoky. And then the way they make it, because it looks like a, I don't know, magic mushroom from like Alice in Wonderland.
Right.
It's good size, right?
Right.
But the mushroom in itself is so complex.
Mm-hmm.
So like the base layer of like the dirt
Yeah.
is, I don't know what dessert that is. It's
Yeah.
like some kind of crumbled
Yeah.
chocolate something.
Yeah.
Then you have like the stem, which is another dessert, and then you have the cap, which is another dessert. So it's really like, it's hard to explain.
3
You're
in
having-
1. There
yeah,
you
you're
go.
having like these multiple desserts in one shot.
Nice.
It's a trip. So I can't pick just one, man.
Yeah. It's hard for me too, man. I would say ambience and experience wise, I'd say Born to Raise is like probably the top for me right now. I honestly really like the steak at Cowboy Star. Like that was one of my favorite spots. Favorite date night spot would probably be Mr. A's. I think it's just because we had good memories. There.
Romantic.
Yeah, we had good memories. It's romantic.
Yeah.
You know, favorite spot to take the kids. That's a hard one, man.
Bro, I mean, I'm telling
They like the buffet, the Hundreds buffet.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Have you ever been there?
Yeah.
They like
yeah.
the Hundreds buffet in right there, Mission Valley area. And they just ice cream, sushi. You know, they got the hibachi steak station, and they just like
For
man.
value wise,
Yeah.
that's a good value for what you
Yeah,
get.
I mean, if you're gonna stuff yourself, it's
Yeah.
pretty good value.
yeah, dude,
and we're stuffed when we
family,
leave,
yeah,
man.
your value. I put that stuff in my
Right. You're like, hey, you
man
can't-
purse or something.
I told my daughter, you can't take this to go. Can we get it to go plate? No.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
Anthony, thank you for having me on today, brother.
No, my pleasure, bro.
Appreciate you.
Threw me off with my places to go eat.
I know that's a good question, though, man. People need to know. You're San Diego native, man, just like me. Like we're here.
No, the one thing I truly appreciate about San Diego is the way that we have so many different pockets. The pockets are so definitively diverse.
Yeah.
You know, if you go into Ocean Beach,
Yeah.
it's a vibe.
I love that vibe, though.
It's just a
even though
different vibe.
people don't like the bums or whatever.
Burger
Yeah.
at what you call it?
Yeah.
In OB,
Yeah.
what's it called? Hodad's.
Yeah. Oh, I love Hodad's.
Bro,
That spot is
when
good.
I used to drink, I get because they had like choice ass beers there, bro.
Yeah.
And you get that burger with some bacon, and that sucker is like.
Mm-hmm.
I have a friend of mine. He's a big foodie from DC. He flew down one time,
Mm-hmm.
and he's like, for lunch,
Yeah.
saying he kind of asked me a similar thing. He's like, bro, let's have lunch. And I go, what time is it? And it was maybe like 12ish. And I'm
Yeah.
like, do you want to do a double lunch?
Oh boy.
Yeah. Dude, you're gonna laugh. He's like, all right. What's the best burger? I'm like, let's go to Hodad's.
Yep.
So I went to Hodad's.
Yeah.
He was like, God damn, this is awesome.
Yeah.
Then he's like, all right. I go, what else are you feeling? He's like, what you got on barbecue? And I was like, ooh.
That's a hard one in San Diego.
I know, bro.
In
I
San
know.
Diego, it's like
Because there's about 3 or 4
man.
spots that are, dude, Richter.
Have you been to Felix Barbecue? It's kind of in the hood, though.
That's not the one in Spring Valley.
Yeah.
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 No, I took him to, because it was not too far. Where did we go? It was Phil's.
Oh, Phil's. Phil's is a good spot. I like
Dude,
Phil's.
The beef ribs are bomb.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he was
Yeah.
like, dude, this is legit.
There's only, I would say, maybe 2 good barbecue spots, 2 or 3 maybe in San Diego. San Diego's not good for barbecue, man. As Mexican food, hands down number 1.
Oh, Mexican food.
Yeah, hands
This
down
is
number 1.
stupid.
I would say that there's very good sushi food in San Diego.
Oh,
too.
dude, the sushi's just stupid.
Like I would say we're like up there with sushi, and then
Well, because they're catching it right here.
right.
That's the crazy thing, because
Right.
the bluefin, they catch it off here, and then they're shipping it to Japan. So
Oh,
we take it for
yeah.
granted. We go out
Right.
fishing. I come home with like 25 pounds of
That's true.
yellowfin.
Yeah,
My
that's
bad.
true. That's true.
You know what I mean? Like,
I would say number 3 for us would. I'm gonna go on a limb and say Italian food.
really?
Yeah, I mean we got Little Italy.
Oh yeah, there's
There's a whole culture of Italian food here.
Have you gone to the not just in Little Italy? Have you had the live sea urchin,
Mm-mm.
bro? So
That would freak me out.
yeah, dude. If you want to taste,
I'm like, yo, this thing alive?
it is. It's actually it's a trip because you know how they have those long prongs.
Yeah.
So they'll cut it up. Like the guy literally catches it fresh that morning, and I
Yeah.
want to say for like $8.
Yeah.
They'll cut it up, make you 2 bowls out of it with all those those big old prongs that it has. So it's on the plate and it's still like moving.
Mm.
And then they'll put, like the pico de gallo in there, some lime,
Bro,
and
I
then
would
start
be
tossing it right
tripping.
there. And
it
that's
dies.
about as fresh as ceviche you're gonna
Oh
have.
my gosh.
But the sea urchin is like, it tastes like fresh ocean.
Oh, I bet.
I mean,
I bet.
it's
I would just freak me out,
fresh.
bro. I would be like, because this thing is alive, I'm not gonna
Yeah,
be able to
it's a trip.
consume it.
It's a trip.
Like,
It's a little bougie.
Oh yeah, I
but-
bet.
You're outdoors and you're in a farmer's market and you're having, live sea urchin.
Oh my god,
It's a tough life to live out here.
tough life. Tough life for real estate investors, huh?
But I think I'm glad that you kind of brought this up only because I really do feel San Diego is a magnet right now.
Mm-hmm.
When COVID hit and people were working from home,
Mm-hmm.
that they saw the quality of life here versus San Francisco,
Of course.
other places throughout the country. They come and they see this and
We
they're
can
like,
go
wow.
we could go to the beach and hang out,
Yeah.
and we can go to the mountains. We can go to see snow in Julian. It's like, what is it, 30
We've done
minutes?
that. We've
30
done that.
minutes
We went to
away,
the snow on the day after New Year's.
40
We
minutes
went-
away.
Yeah, we went to the snow. No joke. We went to the snow. My wife was hungry,
Mhm.
and we went to the beach on the same day. So we were at the snow and the beach.
Only in San
In-
Diego.
in
and
an hour and a half, yeah.
not to mention another country 20, 30 minutes away as well.
Yeah, yeah. So you combine the quality of life, and then now in terms of like investment opportunities with residential real estate, with the amount of potential growth that they're really trying to grow. I mean, if you haven't seen the density housing maps for like Mira Mesa, Miramar area, 35,000 more units that they want to try and put there. UTC, another 35,000 units they want
Are
to
they
put
putting
there.
it on a mall? They're,
Well-
they're building on Mission Valley Mall, I think.
I don't know.
And then they're
Well, on Noble Drive, they have all those older condos that service like the universities and stuff.
gotcha.
But even like where I live, they're doing the business with the 4 layers of multi-unit above, so mixed use kind of properties. But yeah, so they're really trying to push because we have such a contraction on the number of homes available. We just don't have enough inventory. I mean, that's just one of the things we suffer from.
Last question. Do you think so? I have people asking me on both sides of I could say the political scope, where people don't like real estate investment. Some people absolutely love real estate investment. The one side is saying that we don't want San Diego to become like LA, where it's just multifamily everywhere and developers are just developing like crazy. In your perspective, because you want to stay in San Diego, you don't want to move anywhere else, right?
I'm
So, like,
happy.
in your perspective, do you see, even though you're making money from development, as a real estate investor and as a loan officer, are you for like multiple development all throughout San Diego, even though it could mean, dude, we might be in traffic for 2 hours trying to get home?
So there's a couple different things to think about. So San Diego,
We don't want to be like LA.
no, we don't want to be like LA, but LA also maintains a different type of culture. And I think culture has a lot to do with it.
Okay.
So San Diego, since I've been here day one, it's always been that surfer vibe,
Chill.
town community. It's like a town feeling. I was talking to an agent this morning, and he's way in East County. He knows some of the attorneys that I know, And we had that conversation. He's like, man, San Diego is like a really big town.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, everybody knows everybody, even the size that it kind of is. And I said, but you know, the beautiful thing about San Diego coming from the Bay Area is how the pockets of community are so defined.
Yeah.
You know, whether you're by the universities or you're East County and you're going to go to a rodeo, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, okay, you got rodeo folks over here, which I wasn't expecting. Then you got the beach folks over here.
Surfers over here.
Then you got the hippie folks that live over on this side. And you got the posh neighborhood over here.
Yeah.
You got old money that lives
Got
right
the
here.
hipsters in the North Park
Yeah,
area.
you got the hipsters in this part. You want to go to breweries? Hey, bro, I got like 30 breweries up the street.
Right,
you know?
right.
So I truly do appreciate a lot of that. And then there's a lot of places within San Diego that are a lot of historic neighborhoods.
True.
And you still have that. I think we're very good in maintaining a lot of the.
You think that
neighborhood
because
aesthetics.
we're San Diegan, we can maintain a balance of, all right, we can build multifamily here, but let's keep the value of these neighborhoods.
Yeah.
Let's keep this a surfer area. Let's keep Kensington a historic area. You know, let's not overdevelop.
I think the culture
areas.
that the ways from my personal experience, and I've only seen it for the last 25 years because I came from Northern Cal.
You're a San Diego native now.
Yeah. What they say, after 20 years, you're a native.
Yeah.
So, but when I do go back to the Bay Area, they do have somewhat of a little microcosms, you know, certain nationalities tend to congregate to specific neighborhoods where San Diego isn't necessarily a congregation of people's ethnic backgrounds, but more their culture.
Yeah.
So
sure.
like you skate.
Yep.
Right. And Sid does BMX bike when he was a kid, but there's only
San Diegan black kids from San Diego.
You know what I'm saying? So for me coming from the Bay Area,
Yeah.
having brothers that either skate or BMX is like what? And then I go out to surf and I'm like, yo, I'm surfing with brothers, and it's different.
It is different.
So
it's a cultural thing.
It's a cultural thing, and it's not a culture based on race or nationality. It's a culture based on their ideology in the area and the vibe that they kind of provide.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that San Diego does a very, very good job of that.
I would agree.
And retain that.
Yeah.
So the people that don't want it in their backyards, I get it.
Yeah.
They don't necessarily want to ruin that vibe.
Yeah.
But I also think it's somewhat selfish to not allow other people to be able to, number one, continue to still live and afford it. Because if we don't do enough inventory and we don't suppress some of these values from skyrocketing, because when you have too little inventory, it forces the values too high for the people that are currently living there to continue to afford it.
And they're forced out. So
then, we don't want to lose people. We don't want to export people out of San Diego, and that's what I do see a lot.
So
of.
only the end of that matter would be only the wealthy would be able to stay in San Diego.
It becomes a survival of the financial fittest.
Yeah,
that's what it ultimately comes down to, and that's to me is unfortunate.
Yeah,
and I think
it's unfortunate. It's unfair. It's not good for a what we really want, which is a diverse culture in San Diego.
Yeah, exactly. I think there's an ability for us to maintain diverse cultures with more density housing in specific market areas that warrant the density housing, that warrant that lifestyle. So you mentioned like the metropolitan areas, like here in North Park. So it makes sense here. Makes tons of sense here.
Yeah.
Right. And we do have a lot of that hipster, and there's so many restaurants and so many things. The things that
you don't really need a whole lot of parking if you can just walk down the street and get.
You can
food.
just walk down the street, but on the other end of that, I think we do need more parking.
I agree with that.
That's the one thing I think we made the mistake on, was getting rid of a lot of the double lanes for the bike lanes, because that's a whole environmental thing.
Yeah, I understand that too. Yeah, I mean, one of the biggest things. So I had a guy that's running for District 3 council, and he said, how many parking spots do you have at your house? I said, oh shoot, yeah, I do have a driveway.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Some people are like living in apartments, and they're like, oh, you can build all these units and there's no parking requirements because we need more housing.
Yeah. You want to hear something really random? So this is maybe about 3 years ago. So
Shout out to California Jones.
Rebecca Jones, who is the mayor for San Marcos, right? So we had dinner one evening about 3 years ago. She's friend with a friend of mine, and we were talking about that with the whole parking situation and traffic, because she was also on the board of Sandag. And I was like, but it doesn't make sense to me. This sounds so stupid to get rid of all this parking, because all these small businesses really need the traffic to get people to, because it's such a hassle.
If my business is downtown and I'm like, hey, client, meet me here at 4, my client has to be there 30 minutes early.
Yeah.
To find parking.
So the philosophy around it, and I get this, but we just haven't got to that point yet, is ultimately designing the city around the Uber generation. So
okay, I understand that.
They're kind of setting it up in such a way where they're predicting that autonomous vehicles will be predominant in the future. And because of the autonomous vehicles, that they're willing to sacrifice parking today to promote more autonomous vehicle usage in 15 years from now. So I know it's hard for us to see right now.
I can kind of see that.
Right?
I mean, I can even see, the
self-driving vehicles.
Vehicles.
I know it's kind of scary to say that, but because I don't like the whole Orwellian concept.
Doing too much AI is kind of like ridiculously scary to me. But
I get that, and it does make sense to me. It's like, why go buy a vehicle when in New York is a good example of that.
I will pay a fee. Every month, and it'll be less than my car maintenance and all that other stuff. And to buy a brand new car right now, decent one, it's like $700 a month, something like that.
Yeah,
crazy. Just for like a decent car.
Yeah,
because of the interest rates and all that stuff, it's crazy. So why don't I just pay $250 a month, and then I have a car that's gonna pick me up, take me where I need to go.
Yep.
Take me back, all that stuff.
You don't have to worry about it.
I don't have to worry about it.
Yeah. So that's the concept. So one of the things that we had talked about was New York is a good example. You can have a really high density of area where nobody really owns a car. You go downstairs and you would hail a cab. Yeah, talking about like the 90s.
Right? In New York, don't they use like the underground system more because it's too...
I don't know so much about the New York, but just the way that was being framed was that New York had so many cabs that nobody really owned a car, and you didn't have to worry about parking because you can hail a cab.
I see what you're saying.
Well, if you modernize that vision and you think of an autonomous vehicle, then you can just contact your Uber. Hey, I'm leaving the restaurant in 15 minutes. It comes, picks you up, drops you off, drives away, and you don't necessarily need a vehicle per se.
Right.
So that's kind of being built into the landscape of our situation right now. In the short run, it really kind of sucks because we're not there yet, and these small businesses don't have sufficient parking because they don't have enough of the foot traffic to sustain them as much as they probably could. I think it set us back a little bit. But as we continue to increase density housing and we start going 4 stories, 6 stories, and really start getting more density, you see places like Normal Heights now, you can walk that whole little district and there's like nice, cool restaurants and it gives you that nice vibe. And it's a small community, right? So that's kind of what they're trying to push towards. And I don't like the concept of the 15-minute cities, as long as we have the autonomy to travel wherever we want. When we're at the breakfast with BNI and we're talking with the builders, East Lake and that whole area in master plan, that's what they're currently doing now. They've been doing it for the last 5 years. So when they're planning these master plan communities, the school, the high school, the park, all the stores and restaurants, then they have over here the condos, and they give it a walkability score. Right. So they're doing a lot of that.
I mean, that area is beautiful down there too. And
I feel like it as a template.
I feel like they did a good job to make sure, like, if you're hanging out in this area, you have everything. It's
self-sustaining.
Mall, there's a movie theater. There's all these restaurants. There's breweries. Like, everything you need is in this area if you want to hang out.
The downside that my personal 2 cents is that a lot of the professions that are working within those areas are really based around consumerism.
Oh yeah, I
So,
see that too.
You know, so
I see
there's
that
not
too.
enough of the trades in terms of like hospitals
Yeah.
and executive work
Yeah,
locations.
I definitely see that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
it's like, hey, let's go to the restaurant. Let's go. I mean, the movies and all this. It's like, how do we have fun? Let's go to the mall. Let's do all this stuff.
Yeah.
But there's not. Yeah, you're right. There's not a lot of like, just trades there. There's not like financial institutions and.
which I mean,
like
we
that.
may see some different down the road when you start seeing like the large development in Chula Vista and when they put that $3 billion or whatever that thing is going to be with the what's it called with the Marriott where they're doing the I forget the name of the build.
I mean, that was my last question, but we're basically 30 minutes in, so we gotta stop, bro. We'll keep
Don't
going.
get me started. You need my 2 cents. But yeah, man, I do feel in the long run, I don't agree with the people that are not wanting to push growth, as long as if they had an understanding of how much benefits San Diegans can actually have, right?
Mhm.
So how many individuals would actually be able to appreciate the kind of quality of life we live and the level of diversity that we have within our micro communities,
Mhm.
that I think it's selfish for us to think that way. And I think if they don't want to participate, I get that. And
Yeah.
there's also the
There was
wealth.
protests against SB 10.
Yeah.
And the only reason why I agreed with the protests is because if you're demoing a single family home to build 10 units, that takes a certain caliber of investor. So
Yes.
the, investors that have been investing like, 1 to 3 years are probably not going to be in that category. It's probably like 5 to 10 years and up.
It makes it difficult too when we're trying to finance a build, only because if you're going to have restricted rental revenue, the debt servicing becomes a little harder and the rate of return becomes a little harder.
Yep.
So when you have institutions that can do all cash and just go in there and do what they want and they're not worried about it,
They're not worried about it. So
then
the ones that we primarily work with,
Yeah.
not the big companies, but the investors are like, hey, Anthony, I want to invest in this.
Yeah.
They're not even going to have the opportunity to get on that level to demo the house first.
yeah, because it won't make sense to them.
And then, because
And you still got to get money unless they're paying all
exactly.
cash.
You
Yeah.
got to get some extra money to fund the project. And then 2 of those units have to be affordable.
Yeah.
So it's just, I mean, I didn't see it as advantageous for your average investor. And I didn't see it advantageous for somebody that is buying a dream house in La Jolla that overlooks the ocean. And they have a private backyard with a pool. And then all of a sudden, there's 10 units that pop up.
I personally think that they should do a deed restriction on them.
Yeah.
That's the best way. And it's owner occupied. So like you're doing a junior, you have to do that owner occupied deed restriction.
So you're saying one of those units, if you're building 10 units on the lot, one of those units you have to live in.
Yep.
That's not like, those investors are not doing that.
That's what I'm saying.
They're like,
That would solve the problem right
that
there.
would solve the problem. You're absolutely right.
Problem done. Yeah, bring that to the mayor. I'm swear to God.
You're absolutely right. That
Owner
would solve
developer, boom, you get your 10 unit, you get your
Yeah.
bill. This is your nest egg. This is your retirement. Awesome possum. You have the cash flow.
it. Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're one and done.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. Probably no one would actually do that.
Yeah. And my wife would do one. I'll do one. My wife does one.
Hey, you gotta split at both units.
I read guidelines all day, bro. So, but that's just my 2 cents on it.
I hear
think
you.
that there is potential opportunity for a lot of that, and I think that we've been very blessed with retaining our culture.
Yeah.
And
I love the fact that you keep bringing up the culture. I think that overlay zone multifamily development is the answer, honestly. Like you said, let's build more in North Park. It's already happening here.
Yeah.
So let's build more in South
you look
Park.
at like places like New York and in the boroughs that they had.
Yeah.
The boroughs that they had specifically. If you go to the Bronx has a vibe. You go to Queens has a vibe. You go to Hell's Kitchen, that's a different vibe. So
Right.
and it's not anything that we haven't seen before as a country.
Yeah.
But and I do see the opposite end of it as far as planning forward for the technological side of things.
Yeah.
So being able to have more, not even just the walkability, but planning around autonomous vehicle use and things like that. I don't think a lot of people can see that at the moment because it's not 100% there.
I would absolutely love it because guess what? My biggest thing in my head is like I don't want San Diego to end up like Los Angeles where it takes me an hour to get 15 minutes away.
But look what Uber did for our local environment.
That's true too.
It made it so much easier to go downtown and just take an Uber.
Yep.
You know,
you don't got to get a DUI.
No, you don't have to get a DUI. I don't have to stress off parking. We're
right.
only in the car for 10, 15 minutes.
Right.
We get to enjoy all these different things, and you're within a 15-minute radius of a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I'm literally like 7 minutes away from downtown.
Yeah.
You know? So
that's really the thing. So that's my takeaways.
Sweet. Well, thanks for having me on here.
Awesome, brother.
Appreciate you.
Went a little long, but it's all good.
Hey.